Hello everybody out there, how are we all doing? I hope everybody's all well. Can I just start this video with a quick thank you to everyone who watches my videos, mainly because over the past month or so I've been a bit down on WWE products. So I thought, why do videos? The only thing I've got to say in these videos is just negativity, bashing the current products. I ain't got time for that. You ain't got time for that to watch it. So, ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. So I thought, okay, I won't bother. And then rather than watch the current products, I thought, okay, I'll go back and I'll watch old pay-per-views and I'll educate myself on the old style stuff that I've not seen. So like the NWA pay-per-views, I've probably only ever seen one NWA pay-per-view. So I thought, why not go back and watch them all? And whilst doing that, read up about it, what was going on at the time. So why this stuff's sort of relevant. So here we are, my first one. Starrcade 1983, and I thought, why not, whilst I go back and watch them all, review them all. So if you guys want to keep seeing these, please let me know. Because if you don't want to see them all, I'll probably watch a few, review a few, then stop reviewing them if no one's interested. But if you are interested, then cool, I'll keep doing them. Because that's what I want to do, because I enjoy these videos, and I enjoy making these videos. So yeah, Starrcade 1983, before I get into the review, backstory. The WWF, they are launching to be not an international, a nationwide brand, shall we say. They're taking their New York territory and they're expanding, and they're cherry picking all the top stars from all over the United States. So the NWA is a bit like, we need to act now, because they might put us out of business. If they continue expanding like they're doing, then we're fucked. We need to do something. So why don't we have a massive supercard? Why don't we have a supercard of all the top guys from all the NWA territories, and we'll call it Starrcade. Thanksgiving Day. In the old days, the 80s, the 80s, the old days. There'll be people out there saying 80s ain't the old days. Anyway, in the old days of the 80s, that's the old days to me. I was born in the 80s. The big wrestling shows were on Christmas, Easter and Thanksgiving, you know, the holidays when people were free with the families. Let's go out and watch the wrestling. So this was on Thanksgiving night, 1983. Starrcade, the big one. NWA, are trying to counteract the WWF's expansion. So here we go. First match on the card. The Assassins, which were Jody Hamilton and Ray Hernandez. Ray Hernandez, famous for being Hercules in the WWF later on. So that'll give you sort of an indication of were they successful in counteracting them. Against Rufus R. Jones and Bugsy McGraw. Now, Rufus R. Jones was like, I can't really explain it, but Bugsy McGraw, I thought it was Ole Anderson. When I started watching the show, I watched it earlier on YouTube. When I started watching the show, and he does this, and he does that. Well, let me put this phone down so I can do it properly. He does that into the camera. I was like, oh, that's a bit of a strange thing for Ole Anderson to do. Ole Anderson's this hard-ass bad man. But it looks like Ole Anderson. And he says, oh, Rufus R. Jones and Bugsy McGraw. I was like, oh, okay, that's weird. This match was very, boring. Nothing really to talk about in this match. It does not stand up to the modern pro wrestling. I don't think there's much storyline going into this, because from what I've read, nothing was explained about this match at all. Why it was booked on the show, what the reason was for having it. So yeah, the Assassins ended up winning. So that's all I've really got to say about that one. Then we had another tag team match: Kevin Sullivan and Mark Lewin versus Scott McGee and Johnny Weaver. Now I don't know who any of these people are apart from Kevin Sullivan. So I thought, okay, Sullivan's obviously the heel, and then yeah, that was true. And again, this match is boring. Psychology was good, don't get me wrong, but for it's very much of its time. We're pretty much 30 years removed from it now, so stuff's moved on to such an extent where it bores someone like me, who's a relative kid, watching this, because I wasn't even born at the time it was on. So yeah, Sullivan and Matt Lewin won, healed it up. After the match, they attacked the opponents. I think it was Angelo Mosca got in the ring and they sort of stabbed him in the arm and he was bleeding. I thought, oh, that's a bit excessive for a run-in, isn't it? Strange. Yeah, although both those matches were boring, they were okay. Nothing too bad to say about them. Then we had Abdullah the Butcher versus Carlos Colon. Now, I was excited about this match because I've heard so much about Carlos Colon, Abdullah the Butcher, the style of the where were they from? Puerto Rico. The style of wrestling that was in Puerto Rico, where the fans were so rabid, and I thought, okay, these guys must be good, and they're very good at what they do. I'd say that the brutal style, go at each other, hammer and nail. I'd seen Abdullah the Butcher matches before. Excuse me. And Carlos Colon matches, but I've not seen them together. Now, it was a bit of a disappointment. It only went like 4 minutes 20 seconds, 4 minutes 30 seconds. It says here. So yeah, basically the storyline. Well, there's no specific storyline that I know of. Basically, these guys were just feuded with each other for decades in Puerto Rico, and they just thought, you know what? Let's bring them to Starrcade. These are two big stars. Let's put them on the show. It'll be fantastic. And it was all right. It was better than the first two matches, and I enjoyed it because I knew who the guys were, and it got me into it a bit more, because that's what you want to know when you watch a pro wrestling show. Excuse me again. When you watch a pro wrestling show, you want to know who these guys are, because if they're just nobodies and you don't really care. But yeah, because I know who both these guys were, it was a bit more interesting when they were going at it. Like, nice one. The winner of the match was Abdullah the Butcher by his manager. I can't remember who it was. Oh wait, it was Hugo Savinovich. The guy who's the Spanish broadcast announcer in WWF now. They never explained that to you, but that's who he is. Hugo Savinovich was Abby's manager. Whacks Carlos Colon from behind. Abby gets the win. 4 minutes 30 seconds. Lame finish, in my opinion, but whatever. Then we had tag team match. Jay Youngblood and Wahoo McDaniel versus who? Okay, my phone's just not telling me here. I don't think it wants me to know. Oh, that's what it was, yeah. Sorry, my apologies. Bob Orton Jr. and Dick Slater versus Mark Youngblood and Wahoo McDaniel. Now, Youngblood and McDaniel had the Native American gimmicks, you know, like Tatanka, the American Indians. And Orton and Dick Slater were the bad guys, and the bad guys won. Again, I knew Dick Slater was to an extent. Obviously, everyone knows who Bob Orton Jr. is. Mainly because Randy Orton's his dad, but obviously because he was in the WrestleMania main event as the Roddy Piper's bodyguard on the outside, etc., etc. He was on a few subsequent WrestleMania cards, I believe, if I remember correctly. Again, nothing too exciting about this match, but Bob Orton and Dick Slater got the win. Now, Charlie Brown is a guy in a mask versus the Great Kabuki. The Great Kabuki had the NWA Television Championship. This is title versus mask. Now, what had happened was Great Kabuki had beaten Jimmy Valiant. I think it was Jimmy Valiant. Maybe it was Johnny Valiant. Shit, I don't remember which one it was. One of the Valiants, anyway. Kabuki had beat him, losing leaves town sort of match. So he left, and he came back in a black mask that came up to him, and he had this massive blonde beard. Now, we all complain about the stupid booking nowadays. This was just stupid stuff. This might be one of the first times it's really been done on a national stage, but still, whatever. So he has this mask. It's obviously him. For everyone who was watching wrestling at the time would have known exactly who it was. I even knew that it was one of the Valiants. I'd seen the guy before. I thought, wait a minute, he reminds me of, I think it's Jimmy Valiant. He reminds me of Jimmy Valiant. So yeah, against the Great Kabuki, he beats the Great Kabuki, so he keeps the mask and he wins his television title. This was an entertaining match. It was very gimmicky, granted, but entertaining, sort of played to the childish aspects of the pro wrestling world and the sort of carnival aspects of the Japanese bad guy, or from Singapore, but whatever. The Oriental bad guy versus the good guy who's cheating, friendly and jokingly, and yeah, he's cool and wicked, whatever. Then we had Roddy Piper versus Greg the Hammer Valentine in the dog collar match. Now, this match is brutal. For all the people out there who say they love hardcore wrestling and hardcore wrestling should come back, WWF should bring back the hardcore title, this match totally disproves all that. Not because this is bad, but because this is so good. This is a very good match to end their feud. Roddy Piper had been attacked by Greg the Hammer Valentine, where he attacked his ear. So all the way through the match, he continued attacking the ear. Even though he had this chain, he would use the chain to attack the ear, and I believe it was actually his left ear, so it would have been that ear. So, but this is a fantastic match. The problem with hardcore wrestling all the time is that it means nothing. But this is a grudge match. This is a blood feud, and they made it a blood match by bringing the blood out, bringing the weapons out. Well, not the weapon, just the weapon. Just a chain. That's all you need. Is that if you want a hardcore match, you just need one weapon. Just make it make sense, and that's what they did. Very good match. Piper beats him. Next up, we had Ricky Steamboat and Jay Youngblood going for the tag team titles against Jack and Gerald Briscoe. Jack and Gerald Briscoe had been friends with Ricky Steamboat and Jay Youngblood until they turned their backs on them. Now, I've not seen the footage of them turning their backs on them, but it sounds like a, very standard pro wrestling one-on-one sort of thing. We're friends, we're going to turn on you. Now, it happening with tag teams doesn't really happen anymore, because you don't really get tag teams being friends. You have the two guys being friends and then one turns on the other. In this, it was two guys turning on two guys, so very interesting. Ricky Steamboat and Jay Youngblood won. It was very interesting to me to see Gerald Briscoe and Ricky Steamboat in the ring together. Two guys who are backstage road agents in the WWE nowadays, going against each other when they were wrestlers 30 years ago. Very interesting stuff to watch. Ricky Steamboat, you could tell he was very good. The guy was built like an Adonis. He looked fantastic. No wonder he was pegged to be one of the top guys later on in the NWA. But yeah, good match. And Ricky and Jay Youngblood won the tag team titles. Then we had the main event. They've been talking about it all the way through. In fact, this wasn't just called Starrcade. This is Starrcade, a flair for the gold. They basically gave it at the ending. Anyway, it's Harley Race, NWA Heavyweight Champion, the most respected wrestling title in the world at the time, against Ric Flair, the guy who'd won the title before. But Ric Flair beat Dusty Rhodes to the title. I think it was in Kansas City, Missouri, where neither were that popular. So when it happened, the fans sort of shitted on it. So Ric Flair needed to sort of prove himself. And then he dropped the title back to Harley Race, and they thought, right, we'll build it up. We'll build it for Starrcade, the big event. We'll put it in a cage. Again, Hell in the Cell's a WWE pay-per-view. It never makes any sense, because we know going into it, there's going to just be two guys thrown in there. They're going to be in a cell match. Woo, cell. Doesn't make, why are they in the cell? Why do we need to know that these two guys have to be in that cage? Doesn't make sense. Did for this, because they said, you know what? We need to know who's the better man. There can be no outside interference. Put it in the cage. They can't get out. It must be settled inside. Harley Race, the bad guy, says, I'm not getting in the cage. That's degrading to me. I'm the champion. Animals live in cages. I'm not a performing monkey. I'm not going to get in that cage. No, Harley, you've got to do it. They booked it. Wrote it in. So the bad guy, disgruntled. Fine. Fuck you all. I'll do this and I'll beat him. He doesn't beat him. Ric Flair, the good guy. All the women love him. All the way through the show, they had this woman in the audience going around asking people, who do you think is going to win the main event? And they're like, oh, Ric Flair, he's my favourite wrestler. Everyone fucking loved Ric Flair at the time. And it seemed to me that these all thought it was real. This is only 29 years ago, and they all believed it was real. That's mind-boggling to me, that people could believe. Because nobody believes now. The children don't believe. When you go to a WWE show and you've got some kid sitting next to you, 50-50 chance that he doesn't believe, and that's a child. These were grown adults, all watching, believing. And we had a very good cage match at the end. Ric Flair beating Harley Race for the title. Emotional scenes. His wife gets in the ring. Flair, he's got that bleached blonde hair, blood all coming through it and on his face, and his wife comes in and kisses him on the mouth, and it's like, that's the moment. That's what they're trying to make it look real. Harley Race, by the way, awful promos all the way through the show. His promos are awful. It's like, Ric Flair, tonight is not gonna be your night. Because Bob Orton, he took you out, but now you're back. So it was like, what are you trying to say? Yeah, Bob Orton took him out, but now he's back. What? I understood what he's trying to say, but it wasn't as good as it could have been for a guy who was at the time a 7-time world champion. He should have been far more polished on the mic than this, but then again, it wasn't as big a part of the business as it became, which Ric Flair sort of revolutionised, and the guys like Billy Graham sort of at that time. So yeah, that was the main event. All in all, I would probably... What would I give this show? Starrcade 1983. Because the first one, I'll give it a 5.5 out of 10. 5.75 maybe. No doubt about it, this show was vastly important to the pro wrestling industry. Because if it wasn't for this show, WrestleMania would have never happened the very next year. In fact, WrestleMania happened about within 6 months after this. As a reaction, it's very interesting how the good stuff in pro wrestling isn't birthed out of just people coming up with original ideas just for the sake of it. It's coming out of reactions. It's coming out of, shit, WWF are expanding, we need to put on a supercard. Oh shit, NWA's just put on a supercard, we need to put on our own supercard. Monday Night Wars, oh no, Nitro started putting on pay-per-view style matches on TV, we've got to start doing that. They're pushing the envelope, we got to push the envelope. This is why pro wrestling needs a strong number 2 company. TNA's not cutting it at the moment. But yeah, you guys, have you ever seen Starrcade 1983? If not, I highly recommend you go onto YouTube, just type in Starrcade 1983, 2-part video, lasts for about 3 hours, a bit less than that. Go and watch it. Very much worthwhile watching. Is it a great show? No, it's not. But is it a historically relevant show? 100% it is. I'd love to know your guys' opinions on the show. I'd love to know your guys' opinions on this video, and I'd love to know your guys' opinions on subsequent videos in this series. Now this could go on forever technically, because I've got NWA, then when it becomes WCW, ECW, WWF, WWE, TNA, Japan, Mexico, Legends of Wrestling. I've got all these shows to watch. Thank you very much for watching. Please let me know your thoughts down below. And please subscribe. And all that good stuff. See you very soon with another video.